Living Local Carolina with Katie Turner. Local trends, shopping, dining, and more. This is Living Local Carolina.
The following portion of Living Local Carolina is sponsored by Beach Injury Lawyers. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on Living Local Carolina. Today I am joined by my friends from Beach Injury Lawyers, Will and Greg. Welcome back to Living Local.
Good morning. We appreciate you having us.
Great to be back.
All right, we have a bit of a tough topic on the docket today. We're talking about something you guys unfortunately have to deal with quite a bit in your field, DUIs.
We're getting towards the end of the summer season, and with so many tourists coming in, you see the bars fill up. We see a lot of DUI accidents in terms of clients who have been injured by a drunk driver. And generally, most DUI cases are cause some significant injuries because it's speeding, and as a result, you see catastrophic or significant injuries. So, and in South Carolina, there's only the state minimum insurance is $25,000. So $25,000 doesn't cover if you go to a level 1 trauma center and you're treated, that 25 is gone because the bill is the bill that you're going to get from the hospital is going to far exceed any applicable coverage, even with a $25,000 or even a $50,000 policy. So what we do is when someone comes in who's been injured by a drunk driver is we also want to investigate where did this alcohol come from? Was the person out, at a bar or a restaurant drinking? Were they overserved? And it's called dram shop liability. So all bars, restaurants, they have to cover, or they have to carry a minimum, I believe it's $1 million. $1 million. Yeah, $1 million in coverage for dram shop type cases. Now, the vast majorities of restaurant and bars, in the Grand Strand, they're professionals, and they're professional bartenders. And when someone appears to have start reaching that point, they probably shouldn't be served anymore. Then generally they get cut off. But again, just like any other thing, any other profession, they're bad apples. And you will see where folks have been out and they consume just an outrageous amount of alcohol. They're sometimes sleeping on the bar, wake up, because most bars and restaurants have cameras now, and you'll see this person sleeping at the bar, and then they wake up and the bartender gives them another shot of tequila or whatever the case may be. And then the cameras will catch the person stumbling out and getting into a car and driving away. So that's the type of business that we're going to look to provide additional layers of coverage for our clients.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, what else do you think is important for people to know, especially right now?
If you are hit, by a drunk driver, of course, if you can, the number one thing is to call the police. You want to get the police out there. If you're physically able to do it, try to get the person's driver's or their license plate number. Because again, one of the things you'll see is in a DUI case, they're going to take off. Yep. Because they know that they are under the influence. They know that they have just hit somebody, and they're going to want it, and they're going to want to take off. Yeah. So, try to get some type of identifying information.
Gotcha.
A couple of things that one is, the time of day is important. If you're out at night and it's past 11 o'clock, I'm not going to say that everyone's been drinking, but there's a much higher possibility, right? And one thing that Greg and I talked about also that we've been advising our clients to do is to get a dash cam, they sell these cameras for very small. It'll record, it'll take care of the problem for you. It records everything, and then we have the evidence that we need.
Interesting, okay, all right. My mom always said everything bad happens after 11.
That's what I told my kids.
Like she never wanted me on the road after 11. Well, we're going to be talking about more stuff on the road that you need to be mindful of right after the break, so stick with us. Well, guys, welcome back to Living Local Carolina. I'm excited to talk about this because this is very interesting to me personally. We're talking about when you hit a deer.
We have had an influx of calls lately where people have hit a deer or been in a passenger in a vehicle that someone hit a deer and they wanted to recover. And we've had to explain that unfortunately it's not, the deer can't be really at fault per se. And there's really almost no way to recover. Now, if the vehicle you're in has personal injury protection, which is a no-fault policy, then if you have to seek medical treatment, you would be able to recover under that policy. That's almost the only way. The only really other way is if the driver, and you're a passenger, and the driver themselves did something reckless or even negligent and caused the accident. And a deer happened to be in the picture somewhere, okay? But suing the deer themselves, and in some cases where you can't find the person, you call them John Doe, but that's not the reason why you can't sue a deer. So we, and that was a really bad joke, but.
Oh man, that was terrible.
I'm glad you caught it at least. Okay,
It took me a
so property damage cases in general, we were just gonna talk a little bit about it. We do get these calls where someone's not injured in an accident, and they have a property damage case and they want us to help. Unfortunately, that's just not something that personal injury attorneys do. We involve ourselves with personal injuries. There are situations, or there's some things that I would at least like to point out to the general public just as a principle, okay? You buy a brand new vehicle, let's say you buy I drive a 4Runner, you buy a new 4Runner, it's $50,000, and you drive it off the lot, and a week later, someone hits you, you're not injured. They want to fix your vehicle, and it costs $8,000 to fix the vehicle. The problem is you go to sell that vehicle the next year on Carfax, you can push the insurance company to give you some money for what's called diminution of value or loss of value, right? That's a real thing. Not easy. The insurance company is going to fight you, but yeah, you have a legitimate claim there. Your vehicle is not the same as it was before in terms of being able to sell it, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing, when you go to purchase a vehicle, we really encourage you to get GAP insurance. GAP insurance will cover the gap. So I drive my vehicle off the lot. I have a $50,000 car. I drive it off the lot. I get hit. It's totaled. And they say, well, now that car has 1,000 miles on it, we're going to give you $44,500. That's all they're entitled to do, fair market value. So what happens to the other $5,000 that I owe on the vehicle? I'm responsible for that, unless I have purchased GAP insurance. GAP insurance literally will cover the gap between the two, okay? If you have GAP insurance and you are paying on it and you're about halfway through your premiums and you realize, wait a minute, the car is now worth, I'm right side up in this car. You can also cancel the GAP policy once you don't need it anymore, and then you'll receive a partial refund. But that's just something that I think the general public should know. There are ways to fight the insurance company on property damage cases. There's an arbitration panel. Mr. Greg Sloan serves on the arbitration panel, and that's comprised of, well, I'll let Greg kind of tell you a little bit about it.
Well, yeah, so if you disagree with the insurance company as to what the damages actually are, or you're claiming diminution of value and you can't come to an agreement with the insurance company, an individual can file a summons and complaint with the clerk of court's office. You don't need a lawyer to do it. And it will come before a panel of 3 attorneys, and I would probably be one of them. And what we do is, and it's informal, and we'll take the evidence, we'll hear testimony, and then we make a decision as to what we believe a fair value of the car was, what the diminution of value is, and it's a really good way to people to get diminution of value, loss of use, and those sort of damages.
I will say that when my mom's Mazda got hit by a deer whenever I was a kid, all this was a lot less important because that car was on its last leg, I will say. But for y'all, definitely listen to what they have to say. And coming up after the break, we're going to be hearing more from the beach injury lawyers team. We're getting to know them a little better, so stay tuned. Well, thanks for sticking with us today on Living Local Carolina. I've been hanging out with the guys from Beach Injury Lawyers, and right now we are sitting right by Mrs. Beach Injury Lawyers. Hope Sloan, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
It's about time you came on the show, if you ask me.
I know. I'm excited. Yeah.
This is fun.
It is.
All right, so tell me about what you do and your relation to Craig over there.
Well, Mr. Greg Sloan is my husband, of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Of course. But I am now their medical paralegal. I have been a nurse for over 30 years, and I was ready to make a change. So there was a point in time I was actually thinking about being a flight attendant. Really? And then Greg was like, I got something for you to do.
There you go.
And so at that point, they told me what they needed, and I was like, you know what, that would be great, because it still gives me the opportunity to take care of people. Mm-hmm. I've been taking care of people, it seems like, since I was 18. So it was something I always wanted to do, obviously being in the field for 30 years. But now here and listening to these guys and the way they talk to their clients, of course, changing patients to clients, because sometimes when I'm on the phone, I will say, yeah, I know, I will say my patient. I'm like, no, the client, and they just laugh most of the time when I'm talking to them, they don't mind. But it still really gives me the opportunity to help when they're in accidents or anything that they need. And like I said, listening to their clients come and talk to them, and they're like friends. Like they're comfortable. They just stop by. There was even a client yesterday that talked to Will. It's like, we love him. And I mean, like it was full conversation. So it's really nice. It's a change, but I really do like it a lot. I do. And I get to work with these wonderful men.
I was going to say, you have quite the team.
I do have quite the team.
One of the, since we're a personal injury law firm, medical records, injuries, it gets difficult sometimes in trying to put it all together to try to determine what's related, what's not related. And so when Hope had said she was ready to make a change, I thought, Will and I had discussed it, said it would be great to have somebody who's been a nurse for 30 years to come in and be able to do that for us and be able to put it all together and tell us what, based on the records, what appears to be related, what's not related. And again, it gives us a bit of an edge in moving the claim forward.
A lot of firms will outsource that, and we sort of have it in-house. We're also very fortunate to have Tammy Hicks as our other paralegal. She refuses to go on air.
When I said, Tammy, you have to come on. You come on. You got to go with Hope. We're gonna have you introduce yourself, or we're gonna introduce you. And I mean, absolutely not. She said, absolutely not.
She was determined.
There is no way you're gonna get me on television. I tried to bribe her with money, with gift cards, and
coffee.
Tammy.
Yeah,
coffee.
And coffee.
She wanted me to order a special kind of coffee. I said, no, not until you come on television. She goes, well, then I'll just go without my coffee. So
You better get her that coffee anyway.
I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna give her the coffee.
But she is extremely talented. I believe over 40 years.
43 years.
Yeah. So she sort of runs the show in some ways, and I think she's
helps
helping
me
Hope
out
a lot.
Absolutely.
Again, with 43 years experience, you can't have a better litigation paralegal than Tammy. even though she won't come on television.
We love you anyways, Tammy.
That's right, we do.
So I'm not sure if working directly with your wife all day
It's a smart
and then going
Yeah,
home
yeah.
to, I don't know. I don't know. Just say that.
Interesting stuff. Well, it's always good to hear from the other side of things too. I'm sure you keep them in line all
I
the time.
try. No, they're good. They're awesome. They really are.
Well, I love you guys. You know that. For those who are watching, how can they get in contact with y'all if they want a free consultation?
Yeah. 843-357-4111 is our phone number, and
www.beachinjurylawyers.com.
The preceding portion of Living Local Carolina is sponsored by Beach Injury Lawyers.